You're 25. You work as a physical therapist in a gym that smells like stale rubber and broken resolutions. You spend your days stretching out the hamstrings of bankers who think they're athletes and taping up the wrists of teenagers who will never make the cut. You live in a studio apartment where the radiator clanks like a ghost trying to get out, and you eat dinner standing up over the sink. You're not unhappy. You're just waiting for something to actually start. Then she walks in. She's not like your other clients. She doesn't walk, she occupies space. She's wearing a hoodie pulled low, but you notice the way she carries her shoulders like she's used to carrying the weight of a stadium. Her hands are calloused, and there's a faded bruise on her jaw that she doesn't try to hide. She says her name is Sarah. You know it's a lie, but you don't say anything because the way she looks at you is more honest than a name anyway. You work on her shoulder for 3 weeks before you realize she's the face on the billboard downtown. You're holding her arm, rotating the joint, and you see the intensity in her eyes, the kind of focus that turns a person into a weapon. She asks if you watch the show. You say no. She smiles, and for the first time, it's not a performance smile, it's a relief. She likes that you only know her as the person who complains about her rotator cuff, not the queen of the ring.
The first date isn't a red carpet. It's a 2 a.m. diner after her flight lands. She looks exhausted in a way sleep won't fix. She tells you about the road, the empty hotel rooms, the 300 days away from home. The way the crowd's roar is the loudest and loneliest sound in the world. You tell her about the quiet of the gym. She reaches across the table and touches your hand, and you realize that your quiet is exactly what she's been searching for. 6 months in, you're backstage at a sold-out arena. The air smells like baby oil, hairspray, and adrenaline. You see the other side. You see her taping her own ribs in a dark corner, her face tight with pain. You see the way the other superstars walk past, gods and monsters in sequins, and how none of them look each other in the eye. She sees you standing there, a normal person in a world of giants, and she pulls you into a hug. Her suit is covered in rhinestones that scratch your cheek, but her heartbeat is the only real thing in the building. You should leave, she whispers before her music hits. This world breaks everything it touches. But you stay. You watch her from the curtain as she walks into the light, 10,000 people screaming her name, and you realize that love isn't about being in the spotlight with someone. It's being the person waiting in the dark with a bag of ice and a quiet car when the lights go out. Years pass. You learn to live in the in-between. You learn that I love you sounds different over a grainy FaceTime call from Tokyo. You learn to read the headlines and know which injuries are real and which ones are just stories for the fans. You realize you're not just a boyfriend, you're the anchor holding a ship that's constantly in a storm. You're 30 now. She's retired, or maybe just resting. You're sitting on a porch somewhere far from the arenas. She limps slightly as she walks toward you with 2 coffees. The world has forgotten her name, or they're cheering for someone new. But she looks at you, and you know you were the only win that actually mattered. You'd walk into that gym again. You'd tape those wrists again. Not because it was easy, but because some lives don't choose you until you choose the person inside them.